The link between psychology and spirituality is very deep. It's very close. It's not that one's wrong and one's right. It's that psychology studies the behavior of the mind. That's what it's doing, how the mind got the way it is, why it does what it does, why different people's minds are different ways. It's not that different people are different, it's that their minds are different. People behave according to what their mind tells them to do. Spirituality is what's called transcendent to mind. But shouldn't be a mystical word. It's very simple. We make it complicated. It's very, very simple. You are aware that you have thoughts. There, that's it. That's how simple spirituality is. Are you aware you have thoughts? Right now inside your head, I want you to make it say hello, hello, hello over and over again quietly inside. Is it doing it? How do you know? That's spirituality. I swear we make it so complicated. How do you know that it's doing it? I don't know that your mind did it, but you know it did it. The answer is very, very simple. You are in there. I don't want to get into who you are or how you got there or how long you'll be there or whether you'll be there after the body dies. I couldn't care less. All I know is you're in there by definition. And you have a quality. It's called consciousness, awareness. You are aware of things. Are you not? I swear to you, that is spirituality. The word spirit means you. Don't give it other meaning. Don't do anything. It is trying, you got to give some a word. We're trying to talk in a language. So if something's trying to refer to you in there, not what your mind is saying, that's your mind. Those are your thoughts. Not what you're seeing, that's what you're seeing. Somebody's seeing it. Somebody's noticing the thoughts. Somebody's feeling the emotions. Somebody's seeing what's going on through their senses. What do you want to call that? Some people call it self. Your innermost self, your essence, your soul, your Atman. I don't care. They're just words. I don't need a word. Hi. You know what I call it? I'm a computer guy. I call it the end user. That's the end user, isn't it? Right? You're in there. You're the one who gets all the information, the receiver of all the information. You're the ultimate receiver, the final being. If your mind was not talking, very rare, but if it was not talking or creating thoughts, guess what? You would know. When you go deep into meditation and you come back, people say things like, oh my God, my thoughts stopped. My thoughts never stopped before. It was so peaceful. It was so quiet. How do you know? Is it the same you who notices that the thoughts stopped as who notices that there were thoughts? How do you know it was peaceful? It's so simple. It's ridiculous. We make it so complicated. You just happen to be in there and you happen to be conscious. Therefore, you happen to see what you're seeing. But we get misled, like our great philosophers who say things such as, I think, therefore I am. That is ridiculous. I am, therefore I notice my thoughts. Anybody who meditates and notices that the thoughts stop in deep meditation, they still exist. How do you know? Because you know they stopped. You know, and they're thinking, oh, look, my thoughts stopped. No, that's just a layer of mind. Be careful about that. I don't want thoughts about the thoughts, right? That's nothing. But there can literally be no thoughts. How do you know? Intuitively, because you exist, you know. How do you know he's wearing a hat? How do you know she's not? The same exact way. Because I'm conscious and I see what there is. I see what's there. So your thoughts can stop, but you're still there. The example I love to use is, do you see, I'm trying to show you where psychology touches spirituality. Do you see it? Spirituality is it's not about what you believe. God, are you mistaught? Spirituality is not about what you believe. I couldn't care less what you believe. Why? Beliefs are thoughts. Do you notice what you believe? Do you notice when people don't believe what you believe, you got something to say about it? They're thoughts. Beliefs are thoughts. They're thoughts that you hold on to so you have some stability of mind or purpose of life. It's all beautiful. I don't want to take them away from you. I don't take your thoughts away from you. I just want you to understand you are not your beliefs. Can your beliefs change? You who noticed that they changed didn't change. That just the thoughts changed. I used to believe this. Now I believe this. I was this religion and I conformed to this religion. Wonderful. Mazel tov. Good. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Really. I'm not taking it away from you. It's not who you are. You are spirit. You are consciousness. You are the one that's back there doing nothing but noticing. That is what's going on. So psychology is studying what you're noticing. One of my early awakenings when I first noticed this, when I was young, 22 years old, whatever, back in 1970, 71, I was studying economics. I was getting my doctorate in economics. And I didn't do anything with psychology or anything like that. And I went into the stacks at the University of Florida. I remember that. And I pulled down every single book of Freud that I could get my hands on. I said, holy mackerel, that's what's going on. You're in here watching your thoughts. That's what he's talking about. He organized your thoughts into ego, superego, id. What a wonderful job he did. But did he talk about the fact that you're in there? Never. Whoa. Prove me wrong. All right, because I read every book I could get my hands on. At no time, and I love Freud, at no time did he ever indicate that he made that step of noticing that he was noticing. It was just he studied somebody outside and he organized what they were talking about and how they were behaving. And he did this wonderful thing. And he's right. You can categorize the thoughts that way. You can do it other ways, but that's a perfectly reasonable way to categorize them. We can talk about that. But the net result is, how do you not know that you're in there noticing this? Well, he didn't. But you do, don't you? That's why you're on a spiritual path. So psychology studies what is going on in there. Spirituality studies who is in there noticing what is going on in there. But that is a level of awakening that some people have not. I remember when I first woke up and I was so excited to notice that this voice is talking in there, and I would talk to different people. And I once went to an older person who had no background in this, and I said, you notice that voice talking in there, right? And he came back to me and he said, there's no voice talking in here. I don't have a voice talking in here. In other words, he went inside and the voice was saying, I don't hear any voice in here. Do you hear a voice in here? There's no voice in here. There's just me in here. So it's not easy. It should be easy. It's not easy to take that step back. Why? Now that becomes interesting. Now you touch why the two are so interconnected, why people don't understand that they are not their mind. And we're going to talk about that. But first I want to make sure you get what I'm talking about when I say you're in there. The example I really like, which also psychology, at least psychology studies it, is dreams. You have a lot to learn from your dreams. Not what they mean and their symbolism. That's all psychology. It's very important. It's very good. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm not taking anything away from you. But when you wake up in the morning and you say to somebody, oh my God, I had this unbelievable dream last night. This happened and that happened. Don't say that to me, because I'm not going to help you interpret it. All right, I'll listen politely because I learned to do that. What it boils down to, if you tell me that, I'm going to let you finish, if you ever will. All right? I'm going to let you finish, and then I'm going to say, how do you know? You're going to look at me mad because, I didn't react to your dream. How do you know that went on? I thought you were asleep. I mean, I walked in, I was talking to you, you were sleeping, you didn't hear anything I said, things were going on, the house got robbed. I don't understand. Either you're there or you're not there. Do you watch your dreams? Do you notice your dreams? When you're dreaming, do you see your dreams? Obviously you do, or you wouldn't be able to tell me about them. Is it the same you who's telling me about them as who saw them when you were asleep? You said, I had this dream. Who's this I? It's the consciousness. The only difference in your dream state and your waking state is that your mind is creating thoughts. When you're awake, it's creating thoughts. You're noticing them. When you're asleep, it's creating thoughts and you're noticing them. It's the same you. There's not a separate consciousness in there, or they wouldn't bridge across so that you say, I had the dream. You had it, you felt it, everything, exactly the same as when you wake, correct? So slow down. You want to give all kinds of meaning to dreams and everything. I want to know who knows that they saw the dream. And I want to know when you wake up and you say, wow, I slept so deep last night. I didn't have any dreams at all. It was so peaceful. How do you know? Now we're sitting here, you weren't even watching a dream. What were you doing in there? Patanjali in the Yoga Sutras, actually, from the deepest yogic books written, very deep stuff, actually takes on that subject. He says you have a waking state in which the consciousness notices what's coming through the senses. You have a dream state in which the consciousness notices what the mind is creating, the dreams that the mind is creating. And then there's deep sleep in which you're noticing nothing. It is not that you're not conscious. You're conscious of nothing. If I hold an object in front of you, you see the object. If I take it down and you're in black, empty space, you don't cease to exist. You see nothing. That's deep sleep. The mind is not creating thoughts. Therefore, your consciousness is not being distracted by the thoughts. Therefore, your consciousness, Yogananda used to call it a semi-superconscious state. Because you're not being distracted by the thoughts that the mind is creating. While you're asleep, you're distracted by the thoughts the mind are creating. That's why you don't feel very rested when you wake up in the morning, all right? Because the consciousness did not go back to a deep state. It was still engaged in feeling and experiencing and reacting, whatever it is, to what it is seeing, just like it is when you're awake. Not so different, is it? But when the mind is not creating those thoughts, those dreams, there's still thoughts. When the mind is not creating those dreams, then you're not distracted by them, and then you can fall back into, Master called it semi-superconscious, not into the state of self-realization, but closer to the state of self-realization. You fell back into self. Why? Because you're not being distracted and being pulled out of self. Over my years, I've learned that the word distraction is one of the most spiritual words you will ever use, because that's what is happening. The reason you are not enlightened is because you're being distracted. If you are sitting there trying to become enlightened, you're out of your, well, you're in your mind, all right? There's no trying to be enlightened. You are being distracted away from your enlightened state. Go stand in the middle of New York, put blinders on, and say, I want to find New York. Take off the blinders. Or better yet, stand in the middle of New York and walk by one of those stores, that has all those TVs in the windows, and get sucked into one of the shows that's in Paris, and sit there and start screaming, I want to be in New York. I don't want to be in Paris. You have been distracted by something. Therefore, your consciousness is experiencing what you're distracted by instead of experiencing the reality of what's going on. That is what is happening. So when you're in sleep, your consciousness, your awareness of being, gets pulled into the dreams. All right? That's what you experienced. When you're awake, your consciousness, awareness of being, gets pulled into what's coming in through your senses and what's being created by your mind. Not so different. So I tell you, the sleep state and the waking state are not so different. When you are not being distracted, do you hear me? When you're not being distracted, there's various times that you're not distracted, different degrees. One is in deep sleep, where the mind is not creating these images, therefore you're not being distracted by them, and next thing you know, you're just there. You're just there. It's very peaceful, very beautiful, and very resting. Of course it is, because you're not creating commotion about stuff. There's another time, deep meditation. In deep meditation, if you've ever gone there, I hope you have, you just go past the state where the mind is talking, and then there's nothing. The Buddhists call it empty mind. There's just nothing. There's just absolute quiet. And it's so peaceful, like 1 minute, forget it, 1 second in that state will change your life. Period. Because in 1 second, you find out you're not who you thought you were. Notice, you're not who you thought you were, because you existed without those thoughts. And it was very peaceful and very beautiful. But there are other times where you're less distracted. Let's talk about this. It's very important. Ever get so enthused about a project or a movie or a TV show that you just become completely enthralled in it, and during that time, there are no thoughts being created. You're just completely merged into that situation. You like that? Oh, it's very peaceful, isn't it? Very beautiful. Like everything opens up. And ever turn the corner and see a sunset that is so beautiful that it totally distracts you from the neurosis of your mind? So it's distracting you, but you're distracted by 70,000 things at once, right? This is at least that's what one pointedness is. God, it's so deep. It is not true that meditating on a candle means anything. But yet, Patanjali teaches that concentration is the first stage in enlightenment. Why? Because you are now only being distracted by one thing instead of 6,000. And by having focused your consciousness, how does it feel to completely get immersed in the sunset? You come back and say it was like a divine experience. It was like standing in the face of God. Yes, it is. That's exactly what it is. Why? Because your consciousness was not distracted by all your thoughts and all this and what happened in the past and who you are and what you like and what you don't. How many distractions you have going on at once? Plus all the different things that distract you through your 5 senses. A lot of distractions. So you get pulled in a billion places. If one thing, and it could also be an intimate moment, you all like those things, where it just totally pulls your consciousness into what's happening, into what you're seeing, and you're not distracted by all these other things, it's a beautiful experience, isn't it? You're all saying the same thing. It's so important. Every single thing is saying the same thing, which is you are in there, you are conscious. What is happening is your mind is creating a myriad of thoughts, whether you're awake or asleep. It's creating a myriad of thoughts. That scatters you. I think in the Bible when it says, if thine eye be single, the whole body shall be filled with light. And if eye be dual, whatever it says, how great is the darkness within you. It's sort of like if you get pulled apart, if your sense of self gets pulled apart into all these little pieces, you're scattered, you're lost. And so you're pulled apart and you don't feel any wholeness. You don't feel any sense of self. You don't feel anything. It's terrible. It's a terrible state. But that's where we live. And if there are times in which something distracts us enough from ourselves, you hear me? Not distracts you from the other thing, just distracts you from what you were doing in there, and you become one-pointed, that's what we call entertainment. That's what we like. That's what we want, because it lets us rest inside and not be scattered all over the place. Patanjali in the Yoga Sutra says, if you can focus one-pointedly, he said that's not meditation. That's just one-pointed concentration. If now you take the one-pointed concentration and you turn it back on self, now that it's not scattered all over the universe and it's focused at one point, let go of that point and let the consciousness come back to its source. That's meditation. He says when you are contemplating consciousness itself, you are meditating. Otherwise, you're just concentrating. I'm just showing you how deep this stuff is and how simple it is. And it's all the same. Psychology is the same and all the spiritual teachers are the same if you understand they are about the seat of self. They are about what is the nature of consciousness? Who are you? What does it mean to be you? It means to be conscious. Now you look in a mirror. You see yourself. You say you see yourself. When you were 10, did you ever look in a mirror? Did you see the same thing? And then you see the same thing. Didn't look the same, did it? No, they don't look the same. Was you who looked the same as who's looking now? Come on, all right? It's not a memory. You looked out through those eyes, you saw a 10-year-old's body. You look out through the eyes now, you see a 50-year-old body. And someday you'll see a much older body. It's the same. Did you have thoughts when you were in high school? Do you have thoughts now? Are they the same thoughts? Of course not. Is it the same you? Wasn't it you who noticed the other? Right? It's like, wake up. You're in there. You're the self. You're consciousness. And what you are experiencing varies. It changes all the time. You have different thoughts. You have different emotions. There's different body. There's different things that you see, etc., etc., etc. You know what spirituality says? So what? You know what you say? It's everything. What I see is everything. What comes in through my eyes is the most important thing in the whole world. What comes in through my nose, through my mouth, through the touch, through the sense and everything. My thoughts are the most important thing in the whole world. What I believe and who believes it with me. My heart, oh my God, it's the most important thing in the whole world. If it feels love or it feels not love, and it feels high, I feel that. Oh my God, it's my entire life. It is nothing. It is nothing. I tell you, I'm surprised you come back. All right. It is nothing. It is just something you're seeing. It's just something you're seeing. If I hold up a picture and it's got a blue hue to it, hold up another picture that's got a red hue to it, so what? Good. Enjoy the blue, enjoy the red. If your heart's open, you feel wonderful, good. If your heart feels heavy and something didn't go, good, that's wonderful. Enjoy the yin and the yang of all the experiences that could possibly exist. But you can't do that. And now we're going to get into why the mind is the way it is. Now I'm going to tie together how spirituality ties together with the psychology. You can't do that. Why? Because it's not comfortable to you. You can't handle things that are not comfortable. And guess what? You can't handle things that are comfortable. You want them to stay. You don't want them to go away. You want to own them. You want to possess them. You want to take pictures of them and keep looking at them. What does it mean? You can't handle it. Handle means I don't have to do anything about it. If you want the perfect example of what you can handle, take the white lines on the road. How you do with them? You know how many of those you've seen? They okay with you? You got stuff going? You're freaking out? Stop in the car, look at them. There are things in the universe that are coming in, and you're experiencing them, aren't you? You experience them. You deal with them properly. Hopefully, if they're double lined, you don't cross. If they're single line, you do. But some are yellow and some are white. Has that freaked you out recently? No. It doesn't mean anything to you, because you in there, the consciousness, have nothing going about that. Therefore, if it changes, if they're not painted perfectly, whatever it is, you still see them and you interact with them properly, but they don't leave scars inside of you. They don't leave impressions. You don't remember them. Oh my God, I saw this line. It was dotted. Guess what? There's a line in the Gita. The Gita is as deep as it comes. That says, he who sees a rock, a clod of dung, gold, a Brahmin, the same. That's the enlightened one. Now, they don't mean that you're blind and you can't see so well that everything looks the same. What they mean is it's all white lines. It all comes in and it is what it is. The Buddhists say that. You go to a Buddhist master, a Zen master, and first time you see them, they're going to walk in the room and sit there and say to you, flowers are red, grass is green, water's blue, and walk out. Lines are dotted, lines are white, lines are yellow. That's what they're saying. What are you doing freaking out over what color the flowers are, over what color the water is, and over what color the grass is? It is what it is. Why are you doing something about this? What is the problem here? Why can't you handle that you drop down into a world that has colors? You drop down into a world that has shapes. You drop down into a world that has people. You drop down into a world that has nice people. You drop down into a world that has not nice people. You drop down into a world where people's hair gets frizzy when it's humid out. You drop down into a world where little pimples break out when you're in high school. You drop down into a world in which there are dotted lines. What are you doing? And the answer is some of these things you can handle. And remember how I defined handle. That's very spiritual. Handle means I don't have to do anything about it. That's why I define handle. How you like that? Does handle mean I like it? No. Handle mean I don't like it? Nope. Handle means I don't have to do anything about it. She's sitting over there. Okay, that's dotted lines. White lines, all right? It's like it is what it is. I don't understand. It comes in through your senses, makes an impression upon your mind, and then goes away. She's not going to be there forever. Things come in, they make impressions, and they pass through. You know, in truth, for those of you who are scientifically minded, I didn't tell the truth. Things don't come in. She didn't come in there. I don't have room for her. She stayed out there, didn't she? And what happened was light refracted off of her, correct? But not all of it. Some of it made it closer through her hair or through this or that, and therefore light is bouncing back, and my optical nerves, light-sensitive nerves, sensors picked it up, passed it through the optical nerve, and it repainted it within my mind, just like a flat-screen TV. You're not looking outside, you're looking inside. So basically it comes in, it makes an impression in your mind. That's one of the lower functions of your mind, to render like a flat-screen TV. It renders what was outside, got coded, passed up, and then rendered, and you see it in there. Well, what's wrong with that? Nothing, except for the fact that you can't handle some things. And that's what it's all about. You hear me? That's what it's all about. To return to the garden before you fell from the garden is that everything is fine. Who said so? No, everything is fine. You're the one who said it isn't. Nobody said it. It just is. Things are, and they come in, and they make the impressions. You did not create this universe. You kind of just dropped in for a few years. It's been going on for 13.8 billion years, and you're going to pop in for a moment. You have no right to be doing what you're doing. Sitting there saying that this is okay and that's not okay. This color's nice and that color's not nice. What are you doing? It's none of your business. Colors aren't your business. Shape isn't your business. None of it's your business. You're just in here. You drop down here. Things come in, get picked up by your senses. Thank you, Mazel Tov. I'm glad you have senses. It's nice. You don't want to not have them. You don't want to just have no experience. You get to have this experience. It comes in. It renders within your mind, and it doesn't stay there. If you saw a snake and you didn't like seeing a snake, or you saw a snake, it's not going to stay there unless you stay there and stare at it or try to catch it or go back to kill it. It's a thing passing through. Everything is passing through. The Buddhists say everything's temporal. Okay, you learn these things, you understand how deep they are. It is all temporal, isn't it? It just comes and goes. You see it, it's a magic show. Now you see it, now you don't. Okay, guess what? Your ex-husband is not still there. That's why he's an ex, but he's still in there, isn't he? Okay, there's the rub. So what happens is, what is meant to be, and what a deep spiritual state is things are coming in, your mind is rendering them, you, the consciousness, are experiencing them. Why? That's the nature of things. Things have a nature, that nature comes in. It expresses itself within the mind. Very good job of bringing it in there, and you experience it. Good. That's why you're here. You get to have an experience. You saw a lion, you saw a snake, you saw a giraffe. I try to teach you, every single experience you have, you are better off because you had it. Every single experience you have, you're a greater being because you had that experience. Well, what if you never saw an ocean? You never saw the ocean ever in your life. That's okay, but obviously when you see the ocean, you're a greater person than you were that had never seen an ocean. You had another experience. It affected you. You became whole. You could conceive things better. Every single experience you have makes you a greater being. Makes who a greater being? My mind, I have more knowledge? No, it has nothing to do with that. It's because it pours into the self. It pours into consciousness. It's something you became conscious of. If you've never seen a snake before, I don't want to go hiking with you. You're going to be weird, right? If you've seen snakes before and you understand they're not going to bother you unless you bother them, and you watch where you step, you're a knower of snakes. You're a knower of oceans. You're a knower of divorces. You're a knower of marriages. You're a knower of young. You're a knower of old. Oh boy, that's how you get wise. Things come in, you experience them, and you become comfortable with them because you've experienced them. All right? So that is your life. That's the gift that was given to you, is all these events are going to keep unfolding in front of you throughout your entire life, and they come in and they let you experience, even the same event is experienced differently when you're 10 and when you're 90 years old. So it's an unbelievable thing that's been created here. So it comes in, you experience it, it pours in. It's like rivers. All the rivers and streams of the world pour into the ocean. All of the objects of sense pour in through the sense and pour back into the ocean of self. And the water becomes greater. It's, oh my God, it's hard to even talk about. All I know is you're a better being because of everything you experience. Unless you can't handle it. That word handle is very important. What do you mean I can't handle it? What's that all about? Oh, that's a deep subject. All right? We're now talking about the evolution of the soul. Very difficult thing for people to understand. You in there, yes, you are fully enlightened, period. You are it. You're God. You are. Consciousness is consciousness, period. Take a drop out of the ocean. It's the ocean. Take a drop of focused consciousness. It is consciousness. So the consciousness, the universal, the absolute, has focused down, like you watch a TV show and get sucked in, has focused down on your thoughts, your senses, and your emotions. Just like watching this one TV show. But nowadays there's 1,000 TV shows going on at once. It's unbelievable with cable, right? But you watch one. Well, you don't see the others. That's how you think of the divine. It's watching, that consciousness is watching your thoughts, your emotions, and what's coming in through your senses. And I mean watching completely. It's just totally focused on that. Very good. And it's so beautiful. In the scriptures, they talk about Atman and Paramatman. And that's Paramatman is the absolute, and Atman is the focused. When the consciousness focuses down to a particular object, which is you, your thoughts, your emotions, and so on, then it watches that completely. But when you do that, you have limited yourself. And what happens is when things come in, experiences come in, and they hit your emotions, they hit your thoughts, and they're coming in all together, there's a variety of vibrations. Buddhists call it the nature of things. A rattlesnake is different than a butterfly. Gives off different vibes. A butterfly flying by and landing on your arm is very different than a rattlesnake curled up and rattling. I don't have to teach you that. You just try and experience it. Everything gives off its energy. That energy comes inside of you. And there's this entire spectrum, just like the light spectrum. There's an entire spectrum of energies that can be experienced. Are you okay with that? Who's the you? The consciousness that's experiencing them. Your being, you. Are you okay with those vibrations? And the answer is, I'm okay with butterflies, but not rattlesnakes. Aye, there's the rub. Now you listen to me. That's where psychology starts. There's no psychology in the real world. There's just the mind doing its function of rendering what's coming in. You have the ability to intellectually create thoughts. That's what psychology is about. Psychology is not about the fact that you learned about atoms and how they split. No psychology studies that. Okay, they're about the fact that you have likes and dislikes and you're upset and you're depressed and you got all kinds of emotions and personalities. That's very different than pure intellectual thought. Pure intellectual thought is a computer. You have a computer built in there. That's wonderful. Every one of you have a brilliant, brilliant computer. You have a human mind. It's what you did with it that's the problem. All right? So what happened is it comes in and then something happens that you feel resistance to. Can anybody relate to that word? You feel resistance to it. It wasn't comfortable. It wasn't, that's it. What did you do with that resistance? I said, if you could handle it, you don't have to do anything. But you couldn't handle it. It wasn't comfortable. Therefore, you did something. And this is the birth of psychology, and it is the fall from the garden, right? Is you said, not in words, but you in there, the self, said, no, not on my watch. Not on my watch. You didn't say that to me. You did not say that to me. All right? I did not see that rattlesnake. My parents did not get divorced. No. I don't want a new daddy. I like my daddy. You understand that? You don't have to say it. Just the primal vibration of not comfortable. Not comfortable. So what do? It happened. It's there. It's coming in. All right?